rocking the natural hair today, so that's what we're doing. Hi everyone, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel, and today, as you guys can tell from the title, I'm doing what is usually one of my first videos of the new year every year, and that is my top favorite albums from the previous year. Yes, I'm going to be telling you guys my top 5 favorite albums from 2024, and I have 2 honorable mentions that I will mention briefly at the end as well. So without further ado, let's just get on into this. So I'm going to be starting at 5 and going down to 1 being my favorite album of 2024. Coming in at number 5, we have Neck Deep's self-titled album. It's amazing that I feel like all the bands are doing self-titled albums like lately, like Neck Deep and State Champs. But yeah, it was their first album in 4 years, which is pretty crazy. And this album is just very fun. It's very upbeat, it's very fun. It reminded me a bit of Life's Not Out to Get You, but like happier vibes. Like they were singing still like sad kind of breakup songs and some emo, you know, things, but like it had just a happier tone to it. I don't know, I feel like they were almost kind of like goofing around and like playing it off as still happy even if they were singing about sad things, and I like that. I did go to the tour for this album, and seeing the songs live definitely just made me appreciate them so much more. It was a really fun tour. We saw it at the beginning of 2024, I think in February they were in Chicago, and it was a really fun show, but it was definitely fun to hear them talk a little bit more about the writing process for the album and to hear the songs live. My favorite songs from the album are Go Outside and Sort Yourself Out. Coming in at number 4, fourth favorite album of 2024, we have The Great Impersonator by my queen Halsey. Oh my gosh, I was just like waiting for this album. It feels like forever. I was just so excited. Her previous album to this, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power, was, well, it is my favorite album by her. And so I was very just much anticipating her next release. And I'm just liking it more and more. The more and more I listen to this album, the more I'm loving it. It came out late in the year. It came out the end of October. And yeah, like I said, just the more I listen to it, the more I notice things. I mean, it's a very sad album. She thought that it was the last album she was ever going to make because she was very sick. So it deals a lot with like kind of discussing illness and existentialism, as well as being a single mom, which she is. You hear her son's voice in a few of the interludes, which is super cute. And then it also kind of, the whole part of the album too is about what if she had debuted not in 2014 initially, but in all these other decades. So there's songs inspired by all these different artists, and you can totally hear the inspiration and, you know, what decade that would be in. And I just love the concept for the album. I think it's so fun. I know some people, you know, didn't like it or gave her crap for it, but I think it's so cool, and the songs that came out of it are fantastic. My favorite songs from the album are Lonely as the Muse, Panic Attack, and Ego. My third favorite album of 2024 is Hit Me Hard and Soft by Billie Eilish. This might come as a surprise to some of you because I don't feel like I've ever really talked much about Billie on this channel. And I have always liked her, let's put it that way. Like I would consider myself like a low tier fan. Like I liked her songs. Her first album, I liked a handful of songs. I couldn't get into the whole album. And then Happier Than Ever, I really liked a few tracks. But this most recent release, it got me. It got me. Like, it is a masterpiece. It is something that you have to listen to in full. It feels very weird. Well, first off, I tried shuffling this album. You just like can't do that. It doesn't work because everything is so cohesive that it just sounds funny. And even when like just a single song from this album comes on, at the end of that song you will hear the beginning of the next song, and then when it stops and doesn't keep playing because the song ends, it feels very weird. So this is truly something that is meant to be listened to in full, which is why she actually never released any singles for this album. It's because she wanted people to experience it like that as one full thing. She's talked about in interviews, and I'm just fascinated by this album and the production of it. And it's the first album by her that actually got on vinyl, which really tells you like how much it means to me, because I don't just kind of pick up, you know, albums because I like a couple songs. I pick up albums on vinyl because I love them in full. And it sounds incredible on vinyl. If you're a fan of this album and you have a record player and you don't have it on vinyl, please get it. It sounds incredible. And it's just an experience. I don't know how to describe it. It just flows so well. And flow is something that's very important to me with music. I feel like lately in the past few years, it's not been something that's as like high on my radar. It's more like, oh, a handful of songs here and there, a couple of tunes, like single tracks, cool. But this album reminded me how much I love albums that completely flow and that just go together very cohesively. Like I'm a big album person in general. Like I like listening to an album all the way through. So it's just fantastic. And it really reignited my love for Billie. It really did. And like I said, I wasn't as crazy about her previous records, and definitely not front to back. But this one is incredible, and she said herself that she thinks this is her best album, and like, agreed, girl, agreed. I wish I could have seen her on tour for this album. She was here in November, I think, for 2 nights, and I was like looking at tickets all day, but I never got them. I never signed up for a pre-sale for the whole tour, which I should have, so I didn't get my chance at face value, and everything resale was just a little too expensive for me to justify, and so I didn't end up going. But just the videos I saw, amazing, and just this album is so good. My favorite songs, they do shift, but right now my favorite songs are Birds of a Feather, The Greatest, and L'amour de ma vie. All right, we're coming on to my second favorite album of 2024, and that is I Want to Disappear by The Story So Far. This is a great album. I listened to it a ton in the fall. I was running to it a lot in the fall. I really associate it with like this certain running route. It's a great album to run to. It's only 28 minutes long, so when I would do like a 3-mile run and the album would end, I'd be like, okay, we're almost to the end of my run then. So it kind of worked well for that. But yeah, it's a shorter album by them, and I feel like a shorter pop punk album, but it's just like banger after banger. Even the slower tracks, fantastic. I did see them on tour for this album a bit recently in the fall. Yeah, in the fall. That's why I was actually listening to the album, as I was kind of gearing up for the tour. Yeah, the show was so fun, and the songs sounded so good, and they played some of the slower tracks live, which I really loved seeing. Like they played White Shores live, which just the buildup of that song is amazing. It's fantastic. And it was definitely, I would say, worth the wait of 6 years. They hadn't released an album since Proper Dose in 2018, which, as some of you might know, is the album that really got me into them. So I was very, very kind of anxious and just excited to hear what they were going to release for us. And it was a banger. Like, I am not disappointed in this album. I think it's great. I still really want to get it on vinyl because I really do love it in full. I think that's one of the singles. The first single was Big Blind, which is great. A little poker reference there. But the whole album is fantastic. I just love the story so far, and I really feel like they just don't have a bad album, and they just don't have like bad releases. And I really do feel like even if it's only 28 minutes, this album does keep the pacing very well. And I'm glad that, I don't know, they didn't try to put in like filler tracks. Like I feel like every track is there for a reason, and every track is solid, and I like that a lot. My favorite songs from this album are Big Blind, White Shores, and Jump the Gun. All right, and now here we are at my #1 favorite album of 2024, my album of the year. Can you guys guess it? Can you guys guess it? It is the Torture Poets Department, specifically the anthology version by Taylor Swift. Yes, it has to be the anthology. It has to be. Which is the entire full album, the 31 tracks, I believe. This album is just, it's amazing. I listened to it non-stop. It was released in April, and I literally listened to it non-stop April and May. It's sad. I mean, it's a sad album. It's a breakup album. It's a very, very sad album. But it is so fun to sing along to, and that's like something that's important to me with music. As an alto, it's all in a very low register, and it's all very slow, and so I would sit at my desk and I would work, and I would just sing along to it all day because it was so fun to sing along to, and there were so many songs. I was just like, give me more, give me more. Like I just kept learning them. And it was nice to put on the background. I remember like after work, I would put it on in the living room and like work on my puzzle. And it was like chill enough that it worked well in the background. I would just sing and do my puzz. Like, it's just a great like background album. But then if you really want to sit and listen and analyze the lyrics, it gets sad. I'm very glad that she finally released the anthology version of it. on vinyl because I got it recently, back in I think December. And oh my god, it was a spiritual experience. I just like 2 hours of, you know, amazingness. And it's so funny because it really puts 2 hours into perspective. Like, I'll be playing video games and I'll be hearing it in the background, and once it's over, I'm like, oh, that was 2 hours, because I get lost in it. It's so great. I don't skip any songs on the album. I know that some people tend to skip some specific songs, Robin being one of them. I don't understand the hate on Robin. I don't get it. That song is great. I don't understand. But it's okay. I don't skip any songs on it, but I don't necessarily think it's a perfect album, which maybe makes no sense. I mean, listen, it's not, I don't know. It's not, okay. It's not my favorite Taylor album by any means. Folklore and Evermore will always reign supreme. But it is the kind of music by her that I really like. And I feel very surprised when people who like Folklore and Evermore did not like Tortured Poets, because there's a lot of similarities. It's slow, it's sad, it's in like a similar octave and range, like I said, which is very fun to sing along to. One of the reasons I love Folklore and Evermore is because I love singing those songs. So yeah, it's not my favorite album by her by any means. It's definitely in my top 5, I think. But I have to be honest with it being my #1 this year because it was the one I listened to the most. I mean, you guys watched my Spotify Wrapped reaction video for this year, and it was just all songs from this album. And I knew that was gonna happen because I literally would just play it, like put it on shuffle and play it front to back all the time, and it has 31 songs on it. And the reason why I say specifically the anthology and not just the first album is because I think that most of my favorite songs, well, first off, most of my favorite songs are on the anthology, and I also think the anthology like has a stronger section than the first half of the album, just in my opinion, and most of my favorite songs are on the anthology, so it was really fun to finally hear those songs on vinyl when I got it. So let me know your thoughts on the album if you're a Taylor fan. I'm rocking my hoodie that I got from the show. It was also so amazing to go to the tour, at the end of the tour, and see her sing songs from this album that I've been listening to all year long. That was really magical, and one of my surprise songs, as you guys might know, was the title track of the album, and that was awesome. So yeah, this album is just, it's really sad, and obviously like I can't relate to a lot of the kind of breakup songs on it, but then you also have happy songs like So High School, and songs like The Prophecy and I Hate It Here I could definitely relate to at one point in time, if not now. So it's just beautiful. I just love the album so much. I know there's hate on it, but I think it's great. And my favorite songs from the album are I Hate It Here, The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived, and Guilty as Sin. Alright, and the 2 honorable mention albums I want to mention very briefly here. The first one is Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. I've actually been, like, I've known of Sabrina since she literally made covers on YouTube when she was like 10, so it's very funny that she's like huge now, and I'm very happy for her. But I used to watch like her little self sing, and it was very cute. But yeah, this album, super fun, very pop vibes. I feel like I listened to a lot of pop this year, and this was definitely on the rotation. Not like crazy popular on the rotation, but like the songs would come up enough, and I think I pretty much have learned like most of the album. And I wouldn't mind getting this one on vinyl because I feel like I know a lot of it, and it's very fun. It's not always my vibe, but when I'm in the mood, when I'm feeling girly, or when it's like a girls' night, whatever, like it definitely hits, and it's very, very fun. And the second honorable mention I want to give a shout out to is the album The Secret of Us by Gracie Abrams. I saw Gracie open up for Taylor, and I was prepping for the show by listening to Gracie, and I've really gotten into her, and I really want to get this album on vinyl a lot because I really like her voice, I really like her lyrical style, and like the pacing of her songs, they're really fun. And so I really like this album, and I actually knew some songs from her older albums before I even listened and got into the new stuff, but I'm really, really enjoying this era that she's in and the vibe for this album. And I don't know how to really describe it. Yeah, it's about like the pacing for me and almost like the storytelling as well. And yeah, this album is also really, really good. I got into it, like I said, really late in the year, but I'm glad I did, and I definitely want to keep listening to her and also like continue digging back into her old stuff as well. Well, there you guys go. That was my top 5 favorite albums of 2024. Let me know down below in the comments what your favorite albums of 2024 are. Let me know if some of ours are similar. Let me know which ones are different. Maybe it's something I've never heard and I want to check out. There were a lot of albums of 2024 by the artists that I like that came out that just didn't really resonate with me. But if one of them is your favorite, maybe I'll give another listen because I'm curious. But other than that, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!